Hello, this is the Theory King, and what the hell, Riverdale? Yeah, very fast. Sorry if my voice sounds a bit funny. I've been trying to get over a recent cold I've had, so there's that explanation. So yeah, this is probably going to be the last video in a long time concerning Riverdale. This time around, we're going to be discussing will Fred Andrews survive his gunshot wound. So, yeah, major spoilers. Basically, at the end of the episode, the season finale for Riverdale Season 1, you have this random robber, probably from the Southside Serpents, let's be honest, because those are really the only band of criminals we know in this show. Aside from Clifford Blossom, that's a whole different situation. So, yeah, probably a Southside Serpent, and he basically goes into Pop's restaurant. It seems like he's trying to rob the money they have, and Fred Andrews just happens to be there along with Archie. Archie's in the bathroom. He comes out, he notices the commotion, and then Archie tries to protect his father, and at the last second, however, the robber shoots at someone, and I thought that was going to be it. I honestly would have preferred that ending, however, had it just cut without us knowing who was shot, but we do know who got shot, and that is Fred Andrews. Here's the question. Will he survive? Basically, there's a 50-50 chance. Yes or no? What do you guys think? Personally, I think he's not going to survive. I think he's going to die. Straight up. And there's basically a bunch of reasons, mostly concerning with Season 2, as to why I think he's going to die. But first off, just to go off with some in-episode evidence, basically in the introduction of the episode, in the introduction, the opening scene, where you get Jughead's narration. And this episode also kind of do a pretty cool thing where you also get a bit of Alice Cooper's narration, but as usual, per usual, you get Jughead's narration in the intro. And basically, he says that the secrets are coming out, and everything that happens here is anything but a random act. It's anything but a random act of coincidences. Everything right now has a purpose. So, how random would it actually be if Fred Andrews was murdered? Let's be honest. Especially after the incidents that go down in this episode. He definitely was targeted, in my opinion, because also there's very few people who would have known that he was at Pop's at that time. Archie, he knew. Veronica, because Archie told him. But the only other person that would likely know where Fred is would have been Hermione, because she works with him, and he probably has like a calendar or like a schedule, and given the fact that they are partners, business partners, he probably tells her, hey, I'm going to be at this place up until this time, and I'll come to work at this hour, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, it'd be very convenient for Hermione, especially given the situation with her, to be, he doesn't want to sell the company. What should I do? And we do know in this episode, Hermione says that if Fred Andrews doesn't give up the business, something very bad is going to happen to him. So, So yeah, I really do think he was murdered, and I do think that he is gonna die. Also, in correspondence with Season 2, it is known that Archie, it seems like he's gonna go down a darker path. The producer, I forget his name. His name is Robert Aguiar something, Sacramento, I want to say. Besides the point, he has said that Archie's storyline will kind of parallel Jughead's, and the fact that they are both going to go down some deep, dark paths, and it's probably not going to be good. So, really, what's really going to happen, what really would send him over the edge? It'd probably be the death of his father. I mean, it'd have to be a death, and clearly it's going to be the death of his father. So yeah, now, very quick question, will he also go down the same path as Jughead, in that social services are going to have to come here and take him and probably put him in a house at Southside Serpent side? Probably not, given the fact that Molly Ringwald, who portrays his mother on the show, is still there, so she could always come back from Chicago and just babysit him. And also, which is funny, because you'd expect them to be like at least seniors, but no, they're sophomores in the show, so they're about 16 or 17 years old. So it's not like he could live alone anymore, which is why Jughead isn't allowed to live alone. So yeah, I think if anything, that would make a lot of sense. If anything, also Alice Cooper could also maybe take him in. Debatable, but possibly. So there is always that option. And even after that, you have the RV that Jughead has. Or technically it was his father's, but Archie always just lived there. So yeah. Also, Kevin Keller, I could probably take him in. So maybe. But that's a whole different situation. So yeah, I do think Fred Andrews is gonna die, and I do think it was probably a hit. Who the hit came from? My bet is on Hermione Lodge. So yeah, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense on this on the situation as a whole. Hiram Lodge could have probably also done it, but we know right now it seems like Hermione isn't as innocent as we previously expected. It seems like more of her dark side is coming out into the show. So that's a new interesting topic. Who really is the villain between the lodges, Hermione or Hiram? We don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Fred Andrews and what's probably going to happen to him. He's probably going to die, and that's probably going to send Riverdale into a whole different leeway. Because also, he was also the only adult in this show. You could debate Jughead's dad, Forsyth, FP. You could debate his dad as well. But Fred Andrews was the only adult in the show who actually genuinely cared about all the kids, like Archie, Jughead, Betty, Veronica, etc., and actually, tried to have their best interest throughout anything that he did, and he did try to protect them. We saw this when Moose was attacked at his construction sites and all that. He, for the most part, he cared, and he was the most rational adult, even if we didn't like some of his decisions from time to time. We at least respect him. You can also say the same thing about FP, but he's a bit more debatable in some people's eyes. So yeah, Alice, hell no, the Blossoms, forget about it. So yeah, and Hermione, she rides the line, okay, but I think she kind of fell in favor in some of the recent episodes right now. So yeah, I do think he's gonna die. I don't think there's any chance to survive. Also, because the gunshot was like right here in his abdominal area, so there's a lot of blood lost in there. So I don't think he's gonna survive. I really don't think he's gonna survive. And I don't think it was a random act. I definitely think that he was targeted. So yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think he's going to survive? And do you think this was just a random act, or do you think he was actually targeted? Do you think there was actually a hit on Fred Andrews? And if so, why? Probably because he didn't sell the business, so the lodge just probably killed him. So yeah, I mean, there's really no other reason for them to have done this. Like, because the only other option would have been that it literally is just a random attack. But in Riverdale, nothing is just random. So, yeah, that's basically it for now. What are your theories? Do you think he's going to survive? I personally do think that he will not survive. I think he will die. He is slated, however, to appear in at least the first episode of Season 2. So we know that much. So he will survive at least till, if he survives, he'll survive at least to the first episode of Season 2. Past that, we don't know anything that much. If anything, that could be his death episode. So yeah, and it would make sense, to be honest, to have another main character die within the first episode. I mean, granted, Jason Blossom wasn't a main character per se, but however, he's been in all the episodes, whether it be visions, photographs, or being mentioned. So he's basically the next best thing to a main character in this regards for Jason. So it would make sense to have another major character bite the dust for the first episode. So that'd be a pretty weird tradition, though, for Riverdale. Kill off a main character at the premiere. That'd be fucked up, actually. So yeah, do you think he's gonna die? And do you think he was targeted? Comment on that and let me know. That's basically it for now. This is the Theory King.